So in this video, I want to talk about a light that could be a viable alternative to the classic studio strobe. So hi everyone, this is Jiggie, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So before anything else, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel and would want to learn more about off-camera flash photography, then this channel is for you. So you might want to consider subscribing, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Now, if you want to learn more or even more in terms of flash photography, I do offer one-on-one online workshops, the details of which is in the description below. So what is this light that I am talking about? Basically, I am talking about a continuous light that could possibly do what most studio lights are doing, except in a different way. Now, just to explain, a studio strobe is basically a flash that is big and bulky, and you keep it in a studio and it's plugged in via electrical outlet. Now, the newer generation ones, like the Godox ones and the Photix ones, Pro Photos, Elinchromes, come with battery packs already that allow you to basically take them outdoor and not just be limited to an electrical outlet. The nice thing about these flash units is that they're very powerful and they're very compact, and you could easily bring it around. Now, I have been recently though, loving light coming from continuous light, especially the ones coming from Nanlite, or the ones being sold by Nanlite. And I've been experimenting a lot with these lights, and I think that the technology is headed towards there. In other words, there is a way, or there is a reason on why continuous light is really picking up, is because it's a bit more flexible. In other words, you can see exactly what the light is doing already, compared to that of a flash where you have to wait for the flash to pop to see the final output. With continuous light, what you see is what you get. And secondly, you can have other photographers shooting with you simultaneously and getting that same beautiful light the way you intended it to be. Now, continuous light is really meant for video shooters, but then in the recent years, photographers have become videographers, videographers have become photographers, photographers have been content creators. So the line between a photographer and a videographer isn't as clear cut as it was before. Like, for example, with me, I am a working professional, I am a wedding and portrait photographer, but at the same time, I do content like this. So it's always nice to have a light that can actually serve both, like continuous light for video and continuous light for also photo. So what is this light? It is basically this one, the Nanlite 300B. Okay, so this is the head and this is the body. Now, why did I choose this light to compare to a studio strobe? Well, because of the power. This is about 300 watts, so you know it's relatively strong enough to get good quality ISO 100 images, but at the same time, it's also not as portable as compared to the other LED lights. So it is a very good direct comparison to a studio strobe, which is relatively about this size. Okay, now this Forza B, this might be in its infancy when it comes to size and price, but I do believe that technology will take us towards that direction where these things will be smaller, more powerful, and cheaper. Now, what makes this light so special? Well, as you can see here, it says Forza 300B. It means that it is bicolor. That is one thing that a studio strobe cannot do unless you gel them. But gelling light is not that exact. So what is it that I'm talking about? Basically, the ability to change color. This strobe, or this continuous light, is a bicolor version. In other words, it can give you light from the color temperature of 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. Unlike normal studio strobes that give you just 5600 Kelvin, and if you want to change the color temperature, you will have to physically put a gel filter in the modifier, or basically if you want to shoot with a 150 cm modifier, it's going to be very difficult for you to change the color temperature of that light. Unlike this one, I can shoot with a 150 cm modifier, and if I want that light to be 2700 Kelvin or 3200 Kelvin, all I have to do is twist the dial here above and we're already at 3200 Kelvin. Now, this particular light also, aside from it being able to be powered by an AC outlet, can actually be powered by a V-mount battery like this one that you just install instead of this one here. You remove this one and you could put two V-mount batteries, and therefore you could shoot anywhere you want to shoot. Okay, so in terms of portability, it's not really that small, but I do believe that they're really going to come up with versions that are going to be smaller, because they have the Nanlite Forza 60, which is a 60-watt version of this one, and it's tiny, literally so tiny. And I actually love using that whenever I am shooting outdoors, especially at night. But there's some instances that I actually need 300 watts, and that's what I'm going to be showing you today. Basically, this was the time I was testing out the Alpha 1, and I wanted the Sony Alpha 1, which could actually shoot at 30 frames per second. That is one thing that a studio strobe cannot do. It cannot do a burst of 30 frames per second. But if I am shooting with continuous light, I can actually maximize the shutter speed, or that feature of the Sony Alpha 1 of shooting 30 frames per second. In other words, with one click, in 1 second, I can take 30 pictures, properly lit using an artificial light. Now, the concept of that shoot was that I wanted it to be towards the blue hour. In other words, when the sky is blue, that's right after sunset. That now allows me to basically use that bicolor feature of this light and adjusting it to make it tungsten, maybe about 3200 Kelvin, because once you do that, you can actually set your white balance to 3200 Kelvin, which will make the entire scene even more blue, except for that area that is being lit artificially using this light. So this is the scene. This was shot at the pier at La Ia in Batangas, Philippines. I basically had the Nanlite Forza 300B here on a boom with the Nanlite Lantern 24-inch octabox. I then asked the dancers from the Halili Cruz School of Ballet to be my subjects for that day so that we can get some action shots. So this was how it was. So here I am composing. As you can see, I had my light set at 3200 Kelvin so that the blue skies would even be more blue, and the light that's hitting our subject will be neutral. As you can see here, the moment I took that shot, or she's doing her test shots now, and you can see that the Alpha 1 is tracking her, and I probably set my exposure to about negative there, -2 stops, and doing some practice shots here. And the moment that I start taking a shot, you'll see a frame here around, and there you go. That was how many? 20 shots, 30 shots. That's a Sony Alpha 1 for you. And that allowed me to capture every single movement of the dancer while she was jumping at 30 frames per second, which you will not be able to do with a standard studio strobe, or any speed light for that matter. It cannot recycle fast enough to be able to take 30 shots in 1 second. And that is why I love this continuous light, because it is powerful enough for me to properly light that scene and still allow me that flexibility of doing a burst mode with my shot to be able to get the movement of the dancer. Now, there is a 500 watt version of this one that, though unfortunately I don't have that, so I had to work with 300 watts, but it is now really a viable alternative to a studio strobe. There is one downside though, the price. This one is about a little bit over $1,000, still very expensive as of this moment. But for video use, it's perfect. For photographers, maybe not yet because of the price, but the moment that they get the technology and price to a point in which it is very, very affordable and it gives us this much power and flexibility, then I could actually see me using less of my flash and more continuous light. So is it a viable alternative to a studio strobe now? For some instances like what I showed you, yes. But for other instances, like for example, if you need really so much power, or if you're talking about price point, then maybe not. But I've also used this one for regular and standard portraits here in the studio, as you can see here, and they work flawlessly. It gives fantastic color temperature, and at the same time, continuous light is naturally softer than that of flash. Flash will give you sharper images, but continuous light will give you sharp images with a gradual fall off, giving you very nice skin texture. So therefore, it gives a more forgiving look to your subjects, especially if they are not properly made up or they don't have professional makeup on them or very nice model-like skin. Okay, so is it viable? Yes. Is it now? Maybe not. If the price goes down competitive to that of Flash, I might choose this over my Flash anytime. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to see some of my images shot with this, shot with Flash, feel free to follow me on Instagram. It's at Jiggie Alejandrino. Okay, till the next video.